Okay, class. So this should probably be the last video lesson for our hardware assignment. So here I will show you how we can integrate P5 with Arduino using our P5 serial control app and the serial port library. So probably we already have another video explaining how you download it, how you install it and run. It's very simple steps. The serial control app and the serial port library. I'll just go over it very quickly in order to start our building the application connecting P5 and Arduino. Okay, so for that, so first, I want everyone to go into this GitHub page, P5 serial, p5.serial control. And here you have all the, instructions for how you want to download it and everything. But the most important thing is you want to download this p5.serialport.js because this is actually the library file that allows you to make the connection between any serial port, any data that's been sent to a serial port to your P5 application. So you need this. So we have already seen p5.js, right? So wherever you have placed your p5.js in the new project, make sure that you place your p5.serialport.js in the same folder. And other than that, it's this releases. So you just go to this page over here. And then here you will find the most recent release. And then download the package, the serial control package based on your system. So the Darwin one is for Mac, it's for Linux, and it's for Windows, both 32 and 64. So you download it. So since I have Mac and I already downloaded this one, so once I download it, let me. So once I have downloaded, this is inside the Darwin package. So I'll be using the p5.serial control app. And in the serial, in the actual package, like the actual code, you'll also get the p5 serial port.js. So these are the only two things you need to download: the p5 serial control 0.1.2. Everyone should download this one, this package, the zip package. And the other one, based on your operating system, I downloaded this one. Now I have created a folder, Arduino P5, and inside this I have my index.html, same as the one we had in P5. And I have the serial port.js over here. I have my p5.js over here. I really don't need this. And I have my sketch file. So these are the things you need for your P5 part. And first of all, we'll write our code in Arduino, sending the inputs to P5, the inputs we want to send, or receiving the outputs from P5 to Arduino. So we'll be writing that code in the beginning. And after that, we'll move to P5, and then we'll see how we can actually interact or make the connections to it. Now, I really don't know how I'm going to display it over here, like, because I have to show both the screens, my the Arduino and the screen, to show some interactions happening in P5. I'll try my best, but you're smart enough, you'll get it. It'll be a very simple programming. Okay, then. So now here we are into the Arduino code. So my idea over here is to get some values, to read some analog values from a pot, and based on that value, I perform something. I simply maybe show the values in the beginning, or maybe make some changes to the graphics, to some drawings over there. So let's see what we're gonna do. So since we have a pot, so we need a int in pin A0 so we have here A0, and then for the value that we're gonna send, we'll just initialize it to 0 in the beginning. And then this is just something serial begin to initialize, to start your serial connection. And then we defined our pin mode, the in pin, that is our pot, as input. So we are giving some input values from the pot. So here, like we already saw in our last class, the value is actually the analog read. From the in pin. In this case, we don't do the mapping because we'll just get all the values to P5, and then we'll just do the mapping over there based on what we need to do with the numbers. So here I'm increasing the delay because it's not just Arduino right now. We are trying to send the values to P5 and do some calculations over there. So I'm just increasing the delay because if it's too short, sometimes, you get mixed values, like that's possible. So I'm just increasing the delay for that purpose. I can just give like maybe 30, and it basically means 30 frames per second. Okay, so this is the first part of our Arduino. It is very simple, everything we have already looked into. So what I'll do is I'm gonna first upload it to my Arduino. So this one is Arduino P5 1. Save it. I compiled it, I verified it, and now I upload it. Let me make sure that the tools are connected. It's Arduino Uno. This one is Arduino Uno. So that looks correct. I'm gonna upload it. Resource busy. Can't open the device. So it looks like it cannot open the device. Let me reset. Like sometimes that is possible. You have to reset the device. And now let's try to upload it again. Cannot open the device. Resource is busy. Okay, so this is something you can encounter. So let's try debug it. Let's see what it means. Tools, let me make sure in the tools, it's Arduino Uno, and this one is Arduino Uno. I'll just plug it in a different port to see if that helps. So I plugged it into a different port. Verify again. See the port, Arduino Uno, port, Arduino Uno. So now I verify and upload it. Okay, so I just had to, somehow my port was busy. So what I just did is I switched into a different USB port. So if you encounter something like this, you can solve it in the same way. Now I have done the first part. Now in the second part, I open the app P5 Serial Control. So in this app, it will show you the available port. If you don't see your port, so this is exactly the same port that we selected in our Arduino. If you don't see this port, just try to rescan the ports and you should be able to see it. So once you see it, you connect it to the same port and you place open. So now you have made a serial connection from your Arduino using the serial control app. Now, once we have done this, we'll move to our P5 part. So quickly, I want to show these two images, like which I downloaded and cut it. So basically, I have like two half images of the heart. Like it's not cut exactly in the center, as you can see, but I tried my best. Anyways, so I just did it. And so the main idea of what we'll be doing is based on the value you send in the potentiometer. So you'll move these two images, trying to make them like, uh, just trying to attach them perfectly. So that is our game. So yeah, here I just have two images and yes, and I'll do that. So these are the two images of the heart. So now we can start with our sketch file. So before the sketch file, so the first thing I would like to make changes to the to the HTML file, because since we have a new library, so we will have to import that library over here. So basically we just need another script over here. So I'll just copy this one. And then since I have both the library file and the HTML and in the same folder, so I don't have to give any path, but if you have some, put it in a different folder, so you'll have to give the path accordingly. So in this case, the name is p5 dot serial port dot js. So this is the JavaScript file I'll be using, and it's of type text JavaScript. So this is the only change. This is the only change that you'll be making in your HTML file. So save it. So now, so once I save it, I'll go to the sketch file. So now this sketch file is, if you remember, it's from the the Splunky guy one. So I'll just remove all the things because I don't really need this. I'll just keep the setup and draw function. Other than that, I don't need any of these. I don't need any of this. Okay, so these are the only two things I'll keep, and I'll remove this. So if you start a new file, this should be something you should see. Save it. So now we can move ahead with our P5 code. Now I believe you already have a tutorial for the basic serial connections and what the what the code in serial connection it looks like. What are the basic codes that you should know, basic standards that you should follow. So with that in my mind, I will, since we are sending some serial data, so I'll create a variable serial. And then right now my work over here is to change the image to left and right. I mean, to move the image position, right? So let's say right now the speed is controlled by the port values. So we have another variable called speed. And then since I have two image, so let's say I have left and image right. So the image left X position I set to some value, and image right position I set to some value. So these are the initial positions of the image. And I will also need a preload function because we are dealing with image. So it's better to have a preload function. And in the preload function, I will call my image left and image right. So my image left will just use load image, and the name of the image is left heart.png, and I'll do the same for right image. And it's right heart.png. So right heart.png. So this is the name. Make sure what if you are using some images, the name is exactly the same. It's case sensitive. So now in the setup, I'll create the canvas. And then I'll instantiate our serial port object. So serial is our serial port object. It's new p5 dot serial port, and then we open the serial port in exactly the same port number. So let me make sure what my port number is. So here I can see what my port number is in the tools. Okay, let me see if I can copy it. No. So I checked and my port is this one. So you just make sure, go to your Arduino tools port and see if they are exactly the same. So in this case, this is my port, and oh, I'm sorry, it shouldn't be over here. It should be over here. So once I open it, I get the data. So I do serial dot on data because we are sending some data, right? Whenever we get the data, we call the function got data. So now we need to create the function got data because we have it over here. So we create the function got data, and this is called whenever we receive some serial data. So now all the data we received is in the form of string, in the form of text, like it's received in the form of string. So we actually have to read it using serial.readline. So that is the function that reads the string input. So we have serial dot read line. So once we have this, so we do if data equals 0. So if we received 0, so what should we do? And else if the data is not 0, it is some other number, what we should do? So if it's 0, that means we should set the, we should check some values of the images and make it off, right? The speed should be off. So for now, let's just do, if it's 0, then the speed equals 0. As simple as that. Else the value of speed equals, we change it to number because it's the string, right? And then we divide it by 100. So basically what we are trying to do is, if we have some speed, we increase the value of speed. If the speed is 0, then we just set our speed to 0. Okay, so now once we have that, that's the first step. So in the draw function over here, I'm sorry, I just realized that a different screen was being shared. So let's see if this is the, yeah, I just realized that the different screen was being shared. So I'll just show you quickly over here what we did so far. So what I did is serial.open. This is the serial port. This is my current serial port. So I did this, and I have serial.onData got data. So this is the function that will be called when we have some serial data input. So this is the function we created, got data. If we have a string data, so that is basically, it comes as text, a series of text or series of string or characters. So we read it with readLine, this statement over here, serial.readLine. And if the data is 0, then we simply change the speed to 0. Now just notice that this is number 0 and this is a character 0, right? It's a string 0. Else we change the data to number and we divide by 100. Because since the data could be very large, so we just want to normalize it to some extent. So this is the first step. So once we have it, we'll move to the draw function. In the draw function, all we have is a simple background. OUND. So we have a simple background. And I'll just give it, just to make it a little more dramatic, I'll give a random value. So here we'll get random values in between 0 to 255. And then I have some text. Size I set to 50. And then I'll have the text saying, giving us some instructions, join the heart. And it would be positioned in our width by 2 minus 150. I actually checked these values. Height by 2 plus 200, so that it's placed appropriately. And then we have the image left, in the left X, 0, 400, 400. And then I have the same for the right image. Right X, 400, 400. And then I just change the value of left X. Speed. So the left image should move towards the right. So I'm adding the value of speed, right? But for the right image, we should decrease the value of speed. Now, this is the basic idea. Now let's see what happens when we actually compile and run it. Okay, so I'm gonna save it. So quickly, I wanted to tell you the change I made in the Arduino. So I forgot to actually, I got the data, but we have to send the data to using a serial println. So just write this statement over here. So basically what it does is it just sends the value from our analog read, that is the value from the part, to the serial port using serial.println. That means it sends it line by line. So we can see the value right now over here in the serial monitor. It's saying that there's some error. Let's see what the error is. Verify it, upload it. Cannot open the device. So let me quickly check my tools. Okay, I have Arduino in board and port. So let me quickly do the same thing again. I'll just change it to a different port and see if it works. Okay. So now let me verify it. I changed the port. Upload it. Can't open the device. Check the tools again. Okay, so I'll select my port and then try verifying. So always you have to always make sure that the right. Okay, so now it's been uploaded. You always have to make sure that your port is correct, and if sometimes you get some error, try switching. Like it might say that your port is busy. In that case, you can try switching up switching to a different USB port, and that will fix it. But yeah, before just go to the tools, see if your Arduino Uno is being selected, see if your port is right. So those are the few things that you have to do all the time. Now that you have the serial println, I'll just close the Arduino and go back to the serial control. So here is serial control. I will rescan it, and this is the one I need, right? So I'll just, actually you can just leave it like this, but I don't know. I just want to open it. So now this is done. We have our Arduinos selected, and then you just copy this part because you need it in the P5 while opening the port. So now everything is correct in serial control. I'll share my P5 screen. which is this one. Okay, so now in my P5, this is the ones we had so far. So I just added the latest data. So this is the variable that actually holds the current data of every frame. So at the beginning, it's just waiting for the data. And now I'll paste the port that I copied from the serial control app. Now this is my current port. Now once this is done, I have to, like when we are receiving the data, then we call the function got data. Now we need to create the function got data. And in this variable current string equals, now this is the serial, since we are sending using serial.println, right? So we are sending line by line. So our reading should also be done line by line. So we have serial.readLine. We read each line of the input data. We trim in case we have any spaces or something like that. We trim the data value. And now if we don't get the data, then we simply return. We come out of the got data function. Now, if not, then our latest data becomes the current string. Now, this is some very basic steps, like this is something you will find in the code, the default code. Now, the things we are going to do is we'll check if the latest data is 0 or it has some value. So if the latest data, if its length is 0 or it has some value, right? So if its length is greater than 0, then we have some things to do. Because if it's not greater than 0, that means basically we are not sending anything. So you'll not be doing anything, right? So now not just the length, we'll actually check the exact value. Now, if the value is 0. Now just remember that we are sending as a string. So here 0, even if it's a number, here we say that it's a character. So it's some character value, right? So if it's 0, then we set our speed to be 0, let's say. And else, not in this one, not over here, I'm sorry, it should be over here. Else, the speed should be some. Now we need to change the string to integer. So this is the way you just type number, your latest data, and since it's too large, I figured that by dividing by 100, it will be somewhat appropriate. Otherwise, it would be a very high speed, larger values. So this is the speed initially. Okay, so we have the speed. So if it's 0, it's 0. Else, it's if we convert it into a number and just divide by 100. Now in the draw function, what we do is we want to first see the images, right? We want to see the images, and then we have some text to show the speed, and then yeah, just to give some instructions, since we are trying to make a very simple game. So for the first thing, we need a background. just to make it more dramatic and to brush up a little bit about this random function for you. Like I'm creating a random value, so our RGB, the B value will be randomly changing. And since we are using text, so let's say for text size of 20, I will type the text speed, and I'm just concatenating the value. This is the value speed over here, and this is just the text. So I'm concatenating using a plus sign so that you can see it as a text. And this is just some position. So for the Y value, I'm dividing height by 2 so that it's a little bit in the center, but I don't want it exactly in the center because we'll have image. So I increase it by some values. Now all these numbers I tested before, so I know where they will be placed and it looks reasonable. And you have to make sure for your application based on your screen size, based on your window size and your canvas size to see what placement looks good. And then I select a text size of 50 for the text saying join the hearts because that's the game. And it would be in the position width by 2 minus 150. Again, these are something I tested before. So these are just some position values, X and Y values. So you can change it based on your requirement. I have joined the hearts. Let's maximize the screen so that okay. Where were we? Okay, text join the hearts. And now after the text, we'll work with the images. So if you remember, we have the image function. We'll give our image name. So it was image left and image right, right? And its position was left X and image left X and image left right. So we'll position it to 0. Left would be in the 0, and this is its size 400 by 400. I'll just copy it for image right, not right X, just right. This is the image, and this is the position, the initial right position 0, 400, and 400. Now that we have the images, now we'll move the image, or we'll change the value of left and right based on our speed. Simple as that. Same thing for right, but in right, instead of adding it, we subtract it because left goes from left to right. So you need to add the values of X. However, the right goes from the rightmost to left. So you are actually subtracting the values of X so that it moves in a reverse order, right? It is very simple idea, very simple logic. So now we have the basic things. Now I'll be making some changes to this one, but I just wanted to show what this results into and why the changes are necessary. So now that we have the code, I'll just pause over here for a while so that you can stop and see the got data function, the current got data function, and the draw function. Okay, So once we have this, I'll share the screen of my browser. Okay. Okay, so this is something we made right now. So the speed is 0 initially, and we have the zoom in the hard text. You see the random values of blue is making it more dramatic, like something is, oh, you gotta join the heart soon, otherwise a patient, no, I don't want to make a joke right now. So yeah, so now as I move my pot, you see that the values, the speed value is actually not changing right now. And why is it so? Let's see what happened. So there wasn't any error, there wasn't any mistake in the code. So I figured out that I had to redo all my steps again. So I went to Arduino, I checked the port, and I uploaded my code to the port again. And then I opened my serial port monitor, the app, and then not the monitor, the serial port app, and I checked for my existing port. And then I went back to my P5 code and make sure that the port is consistent in all 3 steps. So by doing that, I could, so by doing that, this is something we get so far. So I can refresh it. So this is all we have. So if we have some value of, so right now the speed is 0. You see that? So even if I make some changes, so let's do something. Let's try to see what the latest data we are getting it, okay? So I'll go back to my code again. So this is my code. So let's try something along with the speed. Let's try to type in our, or let's just say data. And here we give our latest data. Let's see what we are getting in the data right now. So I'll share my screen back to Chrome, refresh it. I don't see anything over here. Why is it so? Let's try inspecting it. Now, these are some of the errors that you might encounter too. So it's better to see what's happening over here. Serial is not defined. Why is it not defined? Serial is not defined. Got data. That's strange. So there's some problem with the serial over here. So I'll go back to my code and let's debug. Let's debug it together. So it says serial is not defined. Let's do serial.list. So this should show you the list of port, but it says serial is not defined. Why is it so? I'll try to turn off my terminal, like I'll cancel the running terminal right now and redo uh, my local host to see if that solves the problem. So now I'm running a new Python 3 HTTP server, and I'll go back to my Chrome. And I'll refresh it again. Okay, here I see that serial is not defined again. So let's do one thing. Let's go to our serial port connection app. Okay, I see that because my serial port connection app, maybe it's not. Okay, rescan the port over here, open. Okay, so now it's connected, right? Copy this, go back to my P5 code, and then I'm pretty sure it's the same thing. Save it. Now I'll go back to my Google Chrome. Okay, it's still the same error. That's strange. So I'll check my source over here. My sketch file, just to make sure if it's the same sketch file. Serial.readline. Okay, I guess because it's capital over here. Serial.readline, it should be small. Yes, sometimes the errors are as small as that. Maybe you already figured it out before me. So the error was just something very simple. I had a capital serial over here. So now that I have small one, let's see what happens. Refresh it, go to my console. Okay, so I don't have any of those error anymore. But somehow I'm not being able to see this line of code, the latest data and speed, and now why is it so? So this is a good practice. Now we'll just go back to our, so if you see over here in the Google Chrome, like we don't have any of those errors right now, but somehow this code is not working, right? Because we should be seeing something over here. Data, speed over here, but it's not showing up. Now, why is it so? Speed, data, latest. Okay, I get it because I had a comma over here. You need a plus sign because all of these is actually a sentence. If you had a comma, so it will take it as a different parameter. And the second parameter is supposed to be the X and Y value. So it wouldn't make sense to it, right? So, but you see P5, it actually didn't show me any error. It should, but this is something. Actually, it's good that we had the error so that in case you have the same thing, you know where your error might be. So now we have everything right. We go back to our Windows, our browser, refresh it. Okay, now we have the data. So now you see that it moves and it just goes apart and there's no way of reverting or anything. So now we'll just make some changes to our code to fix this problem. So what I want to do is as I once like as I turn my knob in a negative order, like towards from higher to low, I want it to get back to the initial position, like the left the left heart in this side and the right heart in this corner, and then just stop. So I want a negative speed to take it back, to take back the hearts on the corner of this canvas, and then make it stop as it reaches the edge. So I know the dimensions of the canvas and the dimension of the images. So I have a fixed values for that. So I'll just be using that values. But if you are using some different image to do something similar, or you want some other interactions, like you have to make sure of the numbers, okay? So now we'll go back to the code and make some very simple changes, and then we are done for this tutorial. So here, the only place we need to make our change is the got data function. And here, so far, we just said that if it's 0, the speed is 0. If it's not, it's some number. We didn't say when to stop, when to reverse, whatsoever, right? So we'll just make some changes. So what I want to do is, if it's 0, if so if the latest data is 0, I still want to check the image left X position. And I know that if it's less than 100, I need to stop it. Then I'll make the value, then I'll make the speed to stop. Else, if it's not, then it will simply move back with some negative speed. You get it? So till it reaches the edges, till the left image, till the image reach the edge, which is denoted by this, it will be moving back by a negative speed of 5, negative speed of 5. And once it reaches the edge, it will simply stop. So I'll do the same over here. Instead, here the left X should be greater than our width, width by 2, I'm sorry, minus 400. Now, because this is the image size, 400 by 400, and once it reaches this value, then I'll stop it. Else, this will be our speed. So this is the positive speed, this is the negative speed, and this is the point where we stop it. Now you'll see what I meant by this code once I save it. So this is all I want to do for this tutorial. I'll be making another tutorial, so this is not the end. So the next tutorial, I'll use 2 pods, and I'll show like how you can send multiple data from Arduino, and how you can use multiple data in P5, okay? So for now, let's see, once we have this, save it, go to our browser, refresh it. Okay, so here you can see that as it meets some position, it stops, right? Now, as I rotate the pod, it goes to the, you see the value of speed went negative. Okay, so it went back negative and it stopped at the edges. So it didn't fly off the, the canvas. Now our task is to find the exact speed that will make the connection very accurate. So in this case, it's pretty much good enough, but still it's not good, right? So if I increase the speed, not good. Let's just try to find the best fit. So yeah, so this is one of the tutorial where you saw some interactions happening from Arduino to P5. Now I'll just share my screen really quick to the Arduino to see what we are actually doing. But basically I'm doing it just twisting the knob of the single pod circuit. So I'll just quickly show you the circuit and you'll know the rest. So like I said, I'll make one more lesson video, and in that I'll be sending multiple values from Arduino, and we'll use the multiple values in P5. Maybe I'll do some very simple paint application, and we'll use the 2 values to move the brush, like, the paint will paint around in X and Y directions, and you'll get the idea, and you can use it in multiple other ways. So let's see the circuit once more, and then we are done for this video. So basically this is the connection. So here you can see that with just a simple pot, and it has one of the leg, the positive coming from our 5 volt, the negative coming from the ground, and the yellow wire over here, the middle leg, is coming from our A0. So that's it. So it's a very simple connection, and as you move from left to right, you will see the changes in the screen happening. So yeah, that's it, and I'll see you in the last video. I thought this would be the last one, but since it's already long, I want to create another one for multiple inputs from Arduino to P5. Okay, but if you have any questions, you can send me an email, okay?